My name is BJ Whalen. I'm on the Skype team. And here's what I hope you take away from today's session. Number one, I want to explain how hybrid and Skype for Business works. I want to talk about the principles for how you plan your deployment. What are the support boundaries? And what I want you to take away is that this is your core mechanism to get from on-prem into the cloud. And with some basic principles that I'm going to outline here, it's actually not that hard. I know there's been a lot of confusion, but if we can just simplify it down to some basic concepts, it's pretty straightforward. The devil is in the details, of course, but the principles are clear. And then finally, obviously, you probably all heard the team's announcement earlier this week. That doesn't change the guidance that I'm giving you here today, right? If you're on Skype for Business on-prem and you've been thinking about going to Skype for Business online, none of that changes, okay? The first thing I want to do before we go any further is talk about what does hybrid mean, because what I've learned as I joined the Skype team, I used to work in Exchange. When I joined the Skype team, I realized that people had different meanings and understandings of the word hybrid. And so I want to clear that up right now, because I'm going to focus on one of these, not two of these. So there's hybrid split domain, which is what folks in Skype sometimes call it. It's basically having a mix of users and devices that are homed, some of them on-prem, some of them in the cloud. This is analogous to the concept of hybrid in other Exchange, other O365 workloads, Exchange hybrid or SharePoint. And within Skype, this means you've configured your shared address space. The other concept of hybrid in Skype is hybrid voice. And what this really means is that, hey, you've got voice trunks coming in on-prem, and you're using equipment there to provide voice functionality to users that are in the cloud. And you can do this with either the Cloud Connector Edition, or you can also use Skype for Business on-prem when it's already in hybrid to deliver that voice. So hybrid voice enables you to start migrating to the cloud while still preserving your on-prem voice configuration. And just to complicate things a little bit, hybrid voice actually does depend on shared SIP address, which is the first topic. And that's actually really what I'm going to focus on here. I'm going to be really focused on the whole notion of split domain, and if you had a pure on-prem environment, what does it mean for you to go get into the cloud? So to start out, I just wanted to look at some canonical org types to level set so we're all on the same page about what these terms mean. So in organization one in the upper left, this is what I would call a pure online organization, right? They have no on-premise authentication. Their authentication is through AAD. They're using Skype for Business Online. They're all in. They bet the farm. Organization 2 is pure on-prem. This is maybe what everybody had 10 years ago. It's nothing connected to O365. Everything is on-prem. Organization 3 is a lot like Organization 2, except they have actually got an O365 tenant, and they have actually started syncing the data, their directory data, through Azure AD Connect into Azure AD. But notice in this case, while this means you have O365, you're not using Skype for Business Online. This could be a common configuration, for example, if an organization went to Exchange Online, but they haven't done it for Skype for Business Online, right? So from a Skype perspective, this customer is on-prem. And then finally, organization number 4 is really a hybrid split domain config. And in this situation, you see, okay, some users are going to be served from on-prem, and some users are actually going to get their functionality in the cloud, and basically the different color user heads are kind of how I differentiated that. Does this make sense at a high level? I have a really quick question, just a quick show of hands. How many people today fit organization 1? That's kind of what I expected. I think there's like 2 of you, 3 of you. Okay, how many are organization 2? Okay, good chunk. How many of you are organization 3? How many of you are organization 4? I would say they're the most in organization 3, followed by 2, followed by 4, and then the brave souls in organization 1. Okay, thanks, that was very helpful. So for those of you who are saying, well, what about this hybrid voice stuff? How does that work? Let's take these canonical configs and then just add in voice and talk about what it looks like. So, and I use letters just to not confuse things. Organization A is a pure online org, and they also have calling through Microsoft. We used to call this PNCN calling. I think we now call it calling plan. But they are totally online. Organization B, they're totally on-prem. They got voice trunks coming on-prem. They got an SBC, and that's how they do it. Organization C, excuse me, is a pure online org from the concept of the previous slide, but they do have their voice trunks coming on-prem, and so they're using the Cloud Connector Edition, CCE, which is really just a mini appliance-like wannabe version of Skype for Business on-prem that you deploy to get your voice connectivity from on-prem back to those users in the cloud. And then Organization D is where you have Skype for Business on-prem, but you're in hybrid mode. Some of your users are actually in the cloud, and you're using that voice connectivity on-prem to provide voice functionality for the users in the cloud. And then if you want to get really complicated, you can even combine A and D to get E, where some users are getting their PSTN calling from Microsoft in the cloud. Some are doing it on, we can mix and match and go crazy. So these are kind of our basic topologies. So let's dive into split domain and talk about some basics and what it means for how you set it up. So the first thing is you're starting out with your on-prem deployment, right? So I use triangles to represent 80 forests, and you've got some Skype for Business deployment. I wrote 2015, it could be Lync 2013, even 2010, and there are my users. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go get an O365 tenant. There's Azure AD up there, and there's Skype for Business up there along with Exchange and SharePoint. But right now I'm not using it. I just have a tenant. That's it. Next step is you deploy Azure AD Connect on premises in your environment. That's going to sync your users up into the cloud. But at this point, you're still not using Skype for Business. Then what you're going to do is you're going to enable shared SIP and federation between on-prem and the cloud. And now you're ready to start using Skype for Business online. A couple key points I want to make on this slide is that once you've done this, your users exist in both directories. They're on-prem, and they're also in the cloud. But a given user is only going to interact with either the service online or the service on-prem. So we talk about a user's home. A user can either be homed in the cloud or homed on-prem. And of course, when you first set this up, all of your users, came from on-prem. They're going to be homed on-prem. And the notion of a user's home is indicated by the attribute in AD called MSRTC SIP deployment locator. And so sometimes I hear people talk about, oh, you know, I have a hybrid user. I never really know what that means because I don't know if that means if they're homed online or homed on-prem. And so I don't really think there's anything such as a hybrid user. There's just an online or an on-prem homed user. Now, a key thing to keep in mind is that when you do this, your on-prem AD is authoritative. You don't want to be, unless you really know what you're doing and you have a really good reason, you really don't want to be creating users in the cloud. And the reason is because they're not going to show up on-prem because the sync in AAD Connect is one way. And what that means is that your on-prem users are not going to be able to find that new guy that you made in the cloud. And I've got another slide here that I'll show you here. And by the way, so in this step, let's just do to complete the animation, which is on the next slide. In this scenario, you can see I've got split domain set up. My users are synced, but the deployment locator for all my users is on-prem. And so all the heads are the same color. They're white here. And now what happens if you look here, two of the heads turned blue, and they're blue in both locations. And I just use that as a signal to indicate that they have a deployment locator that indicates they are in the cloud now. And so to actually move a user into the cloud, there's really two things. Number one, you got to give that online user a license, right? You got to go assign that first. And then from PowerShell or in the UI, you run move CS user. Here's what move CS user does. It changes the deployment locator from on-prem to the cloud. It's going to migrate contacts and their groups from on-prem into the cloud. And it's going to migrate meeting coordinates, so all your scheduled meetings from on-prem into the cloud. What it's not going to do is migrate any policy assignments. And that's because the policy model is a little bit different in the cloud. And also, if you have meeting content, for example, if you uploaded a SharePoint or some sort of document to in advance of a meeting, that content does not get migrated. So once you've migrated some users, how does this interaction between on-prem user and a cloud user work? So let's say we've got user C who is on-prem and they want to talk to user A, whether it's through chat or calling, whatever. So user C is going to look in its local directory on-prem, right? Because that's where the user is interacting with the service. And they're going to find the blue version of user A. And then they're going to look at the deployment locator and realize, hey, this person is actually in the cloud. And so it's going to go get rerouted through federation up into the cloud, and then it's going to interact with the user object up in the cloud. And then vice versa. And so this is why you want to create your users on-prem and let them sync up. Because if you create a user in the cloud and it's not there, your on-prem guys can't find them. Make sense? So let's talk about how you plan your move. At a high level, I think these are the main things you want to do. You want to assess the functionality differences between SFB online and on-prem. They're not entirely the same. You should be aware of that. I'm going to review some deployment principles that are going to help keep you on the right path as you go. You should think about networking and some changes you want to make there. And then finally, you should think about whether you want to do a migration or you want to do a clean cut. We do see some customers doing a clean cut over. So I'll go into detail on all these. So Skype for Business on-prem, it's been around for a decade or more. Skype for Business online is a lot newer, and so it doesn't quite have the same full functionality. We've been filling in those gaps over the past year quite a bit, and now we have things like auto-attendant and call queues online. But the reality is if you dig in deep and if you're using some of the really, really esoteric rich features, you will notice that there are some features that exist on-prem that aren't there online. We think for mainstream scenarios it's fine, but some of you out there are going to notice that. And so the main thing is to be aware of it, right? A lot of folks find they can work around it and just change what they do on-prem. Others find, hey, I need that. If you really do need that, our plan to deliver that feature parity is coming through Teams in the future, right? And so when we have Teams, that's when we're going to really fill in all of those feature gaps. Another feature that we don't have in Skype for Business Online is persistent chat. We had that in Skype for Business on-prem. Our solution for persistent chat online is Teams, right? So that's where we're going. We have the survivable branch appliance, which help folks if you had lost connectivity to your headquarters office. At this point, we're not investing in that kind of solution. We think a better solution is to focus on having redundant connectivity. And if you've got that, then you're going to be able to meet all your needs. Another thing I mentioned is that there's, because the service is online, you're not going to quite have as much control through policy of all the little ins and outs that you do when it's on-prem and you own everything, right? That's kind of inherent to being an online service. And then I'm going to move to the next slide to talk about exchange interop. There are a couple things there that depend on where the mailbox is. And so first I want to say that the best practice is to move a user's mailbox to Exchange Online before you move their Skype home from on-prem to online. That's the best practice. That said, it is still supported to leave their Exchange mailbox on-prem and move their Skype from on-prem to online. There are some limitations that you need to be aware of. The first thing is that you're going to notice that your users in the client are going to have to sign in twice during sign-on. And that's because the client actually signs in both to the Exchange service and to the Skype service. You're also going to notice that some features are not going to be available unless you have at least Exchange 2013 and you've configured OAuth service-to-server communication. And so those features are things like server-side conversation history, archiving, the unified contact store, high-res photos, right? And so you can go to that link, have a big, huge matrix of all the different features and different versions. Another thing is that when we move a user from on-prem to online in Skype, I said before, we migrate their meetings, right? We're going to move those meetings so that they now point to the Skype service online. Right now, we do that as long as their Exchange mailbox is already online. But we are planning, and actually it's already coded, we're planning to have the ability to do that same migration if the Exchange mailbox is on-prem. But we just haven't released that. And I'm actually interested to find out if there's any customer, raise your hand if you're in that situation where you're going to leave your mailbox on-prem, but you're going to move Skype users first. So I got 1, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4. Come find me, because we actually want some tap customers for that. If you're interested in trying that out, just find me after the talk. And then there are a couple known functional gaps if you have Exchange Online. If you're using on-prem OA, they're not going to be able to do IM and meetings through that. So you should just need to be aware of that. And then here's another link that talks about, so the one link is about OAuth config, the other is about all the feature interop between the different versions of Exchange. So let's talk about some deployment principles. And I try to simplify it down to really basic things. And from all this, you can basically figure out what to do. The first thing is that, we know that a lot of customers have more than one forest on-prem, and the reality is that your users if you have multiple forests, you can have users access Skype for Business in any forest on-prem as long as you've synced that user object properly. And I'll explain a little bit more on the next slide, or next two slides. The other thing is that Exchange can be online or on-prem, as I said before. Just be aware of the functionality differences. I think in the past, we initially came out with a statement that, hey, you need it to be online. We looked into that. We've tested it. You don't need it to be online. You just need to be aware that there are a couple differences, and so we don't want you to get surprised by that. And then finally, you really can only have one on-prem Skype for Business or Lync deployment that can be in hybrid with a tenant. And I'll describe that in more detail as well. So the original slide where I showed what split domain is, that's your single forest scenario. I actually just covered it already. So I want to now start with, or continue now with looking at multiple forests. Quick show of hands, how many people have multiple forests on-prem? Okay, so some. Bottom line is that, this was an on-prem config that if you had this, you already did this. We had a bunch of guidance out there from Lync 2010 and 2013. You set up something like Microsoft Identity Manager or some other version that basically syncs the objects from one forest to the other forest. Historically, our documentation said you can sync them either as a disabled user object or you can sync them as an AD contact. That works fine on-prem, but if you're going to the cloud and you're going to become hybrid, you need them to be disabled user objects. And the reason for that is because otherwise they're not going to get synced into Azure AAD. And if anybody is syncing as AAD contacts, come find me afterwards, let me know. The other thing is that you need to make sure that the forest that hosts Skype for Business trusts the forest where the users are, where they actually log into. And so the mechanics of how this works is that I've got two forests here. I called it a resource forest on the left, an account forest on the right. So the users log on to Windows in the account forest over on the right. That's where they get all their curb authentication, right? Somebody on-prem already set up Microsoft Identity Manager that syncs the users over as disabled user objects into the other forest, and that's where the Skype deployment is. And you can see that forest trusts the account forest. And what happens is that those disabled user objects are actually the accounts that interact with the Skype service. And what happens is that when you try to sign in with your client, right, we're going to look at the MSRTC SIP originator SID in the resource forest, and we need to ensure that that matches the actual SID in your account forest. And that's how we ensure that it's the right person logging on. So let's talk about how you go to hybrid in a multi-forest environment. So let's say you got your on-prem environment that I just showed you. You get a tenant. You sync it up. The key here is that you're going to sync both forests with AD Connect. It can be in either forest. It can be in a DMZ. It can be anywhere you want. And the key is that you're going to merge the contents. And there's an option in AD Connect where basically you can choose to say object SID equals MSRTC SIP originator SID. That's the option you want. And it's also the option that works for Exchange attributes as well. They have a different attribute, but it says both of them. And that link there gives you all the details on it. And so then you'd enable split domain. And then finally, you would enable, as you move users into the cloud, you would actually move them and change their attributes. And what you notice is that I changed colors here. I use green on this slide. That's happening in the resource forest. It's not in the account forest, right? The reason you want to sync both forests is because all the core identity information is coming from the account forest, and AAD Connect treats that as authoritative, but all the Skype attributes are actually in the resource forest, right? So that's where you need to get that data from. It does the merge on the object SID, and then sends it up to AAD. And so this is, if you have more than one forest, this is your most basic path, and it doesn't matter how many forests you have, as long as you have one deployment of Skype. Right, so just for giggles, I made a really complicated on-prem deployment, and I've seen customers that have something like this. Right, and the bottom line is this is all on-prem. It has nothing to do with going to the cloud. They already did this for whatever reason. They needed it. You just set up a tenant. You got more sync to do. You got more creds to enter into the AAD Connect. You enable it in one deployment, and there you go. So I want to come back to Exchange coexistence for a moment. As I mentioned, the mailbox can be online or on-prem, but if it's on-prem, I want you to be aware of a few things. The mailbox can be in the same or different forest as where Skype for Business is. There was some confusion in the past about where it needed to be. It can really be anywhere. The key is that if it's a different forest, you're going to need two-way trust. And then finally, you should have Exchange 2010 or later, and you're obviously going to get more functionality if you have 2013 or later, as I mentioned before. And then this is just the same pictures I showed before. Here's your single forest environment. And you have the green box on-prem. This config happens to have Exchange on-prem. That's totally fine. Similarly, this is a multi-forest environment. I put Exchange in Forest B. I could have put it in Forest A. I could have made a Forest C and put it there. So now let's talk about the fact that you need to have one on-prem SFB deployment. This is kind of a core principle, that only one deployment on-prem can be connected to a given tenant. And the reason is that if otherwise, you're going to have federated routing scenarios that aren't going to work. And I have a quick question. How many in the room actually have more than one on-prem SFD deployment? Couple. OK. So there are a couple things you can do. And I want to talk about what's supported and what's not and what your options are. So let's just take this example where I have two forests. I'd call it original company and acquired company. It's an easy reason that anybody could get into this. So the first thing they might do is just federate between the two deployments. This is all pure on-prem. So far, so good. Then they get a tenant. They sync one of the deployments. They set up split domain. So far, everything's good, right? What you can't do is you can't do that red arrow. That's going to break. And the reason it's going to break is Skype for Business Online doesn't understand the concept of a forest. And so it's going to get confused about those new users and where they are. It's not going to, in some cases, you're not going to be able to find users from one deployment to the other. Here's another variation that's supported. You might have two on-prem deployments. You've got federation between them. You get a tenant. You dir sync both of them. That's OK. What's different here? You're not actually using Skype for Business Online, right? There's no split domain enabled. You're not actually moving anybody into hybrid. And so the combination that makes things break is when you try to do all of it at once, right? Where basically you're syncing from both forests and you enable the split domain. What happens is that Skype for Business Online doesn't understand that a user coming in from acquiredcompany.com is actually not part of originalcompany.com, and it's not going to be able to find it. So what do you do if you're in this situation? You can deploy those configurations that I just showed you. Federation is going to give you the interop. You can at least get one of the tenants in there into the cloud. Your best option if you're trying to consolidate in the cloud is to look at doing a cutover migration, right? I'll talk about that in the future on another slide. But basically, that's where you create the accounts fresh. You could also, you could also try to consolidate everything on-prem, but that's typically not what customers want to do. But that's kind of your best option there. And those three key things are the things to keep aware of what breaks. If you have more than one user syncing, if you have split domain enabled, and as soon as you put one user into the cloud, that's when chaos starts happening. Let's talk a little bit about networking. Kind of two things. Number one, if you've been on-prem and you're going to the cloud, you're going to need to go update your networking gear so that it's aware of and understands the O365 IPs and its ports. And conceptually, you want O365 as a trusted endpoint. And so you're going to want to bypass HTTP proxy for any real-time media traffic, right? Otherwise, you're just chewing up a lot of CPU trying to process all that stuff, and right, you're going to run into issues if you keep doing that. The other thing is turn off deep packet inspection. It's already encrypted anyway. You're not going to see anything. And you need to enable UDP. And that website there has a ton more details with all the port information and domain names and things like that, IPs. The other thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put your network egress closer to the user, right? Historically, a lot of times, in the old days, you might have a branch office and a headquarters, and everything went out through the headquarters, right? It's efficient, but when you're trying to get to the cloud, that's actually now inefficient because you're spending more time within your own internal corporate network. And really what you want to do for Skype is to get out of your on-prem environment as fast as possible because any non-peer-to-peer media is going to route through the cloud. And we've actually done a lot of work to make sure that we have really good connectivity between the Microsoft network and over like 2,000 ISPs across 130 locations. So as soon as you can get out of your network, you're going to have pretty good connectivity. There's another session this morning that has lots of details on that. If you want to go back and look at the slides, you've got the session number there. I'll talk a little bit about hybrid or cutover. And what I mean by hybrid is that basically you're migrating each of the users, you're migrating their meetings, you're migrating their contacts. It's a much more gradual process. It's going to allow you to do interop. It's going to allow you to keep your voice on-prem if you're not ready to deal with that for all your users. So typically we see that's the way people want to go. But there are a lot of customers out there that maybe don't have voice set up and they're just using messaging and meetings. Some customers choose to look at a cutover migration where basically they just create new users all at once in the cloud. And essentially you'd want to do this over the weekend. And the biggest drawback is that A, you got to orchestrate so you get it done all at once, and B, your users are going to lose their meetings. Right? That's the biggest thing they're going to see, and also their contacts, although we hear more feedback about the meetings. But some customers say, hey, you know what, I think I'm okay with that, and it's just a choice of what's right for you or not. Let's talk a little bit about alternate ID. Anybody using alternate ID? A couple folks. So we basically designed this for customers that, for whatever reason, can't use a UPN that they have on-prem, and they can't use it in O365. Typical reasons are the UPN is actually not routable. So for example, we used to have guidance a long time ago that suggested you name your domain .local. If you did, now it's not going to be able to route it on the internet. Sometimes orgs have really complex UPNs for whatever reason that users just can't remember, and so it's not practical. Or maybe they're using smart cards only, so they don't even know their UPN. And then I've run into cases where the customer can't actually change the UPN for one reason or another, either because this tenant is part of some larger organization, but they don't actually own that domain, all kinds of weird things. So if you're in this situation, you can use alternate ID. And just quick background, like if you're looking in your directory on-prem, right, you see here this guy's Adrian at exchangecloud.local, right, and so that's a non-routable UPN. And so what you do is you pick another attribute, in this case you pick the email, and you say, well, that's the thing I'm going to join to when I sync up into the cloud. And so now when the user signs into O365, they would use their email. So I want to talk about how this works or what this means if you're using Skype in a hybrid environment. This was also an area where there was some confusion in the past. This is actually supported. The main thing is it's not a really good experience for your users, but if you really need it, you can do it. And so we're always going to tell you that the best user experience is going to be use the same set of creds. Try to avoid alt ID if you can, or if you have different ideas, try to change the UPN if you can. But if you really can't, and we know those cases exist, right, it is supported. It's not recommended, but it is supported. You do need Lync 2013 server or later. As modern authentication becomes more and more available, that's going to help give you a better experience. We've enabled that for Skype. It's come in preview, and it's also coming for Exchange. And then the other thing to be aware of is that if you have mobile clients, you need to make sure that the SIP address is identical to the user's mail address, and also their alternate ID. And that article there explains a bunch more about the user experience, but the short story is that your users are going to get prompted to sign in more than once, and the unfortunate thing is that the default population of their ID is going to be the wrong one, and so your users have to know to erase that and type in a new one, and it's not ideal, but it does work if you need it. So let's talk about Skype and Teams a little bit. We recognize that although Teams is the future, Skype's going to be around for a while, and we understand that, and we're committed to doing another on-prem release of Skype sometime at the end of next year. Another thing to keep in mind is that Teams and Skype can be used side by side. Right? If you want to start trying out Teams now, go for it. A key concept to take away is that as we're building interop between SFB on-prem and Teams, that's all built on top of this split domain functionality. So if you're an on-prem customer and you want to go to Teams, whether you go to SFB online first or not, doesn't really matter. You're actually still going to be using that split domain functionality underneath. And so if you've been thinking about going to Skype for Business Online and now you're like, well, what does this mean for Teams? My suggestion is keep going. It's actually going to, in the short run, it'll make your migration easier because from our perspective, we're prioritizing the interop with online scenarios first, and we'll absolutely get to the on-prem stuff, but we're going to deliver the functionality of the interop for the pure online scenario first. And so the bottom line is that although I've been talking about Skype, and although you're hearing elsewhere that Teams is the future, all of this deployment guidance still applies, even if you're ready to move to Teams today or if you're not. All this split domain stuff is what you're going to need for your interop. And so here's a list of resources that I have outlined for you if you want to know more about hybrid, multi-forest, exchange, alt-ID, hybrid voice, and a bunch more networking guidance. And we are actually finished a little early, but I'll open up to questions, whatever you need. And please come to the mic so everybody can hear. Hi.
The Exchange on-prem and Skype online, you were getting the credentials from, right?
You have to sign in twice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Is it also true the other way around?
Yeah.
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 So basically, we have an issue whereby we have Exchange online,
yep.
Skype on-prem.
Yep.
We get the.
And that's where if you're using alt-ID, it can get really kind of confusing.
Yeah, sure.
Right. If it's the same ID, things start getting cached and it's easier. Right, but the bottom line is the client needs to sign into both.
Exactly. So that is not fixable, basically. No. Right. Cool.
Cool.
Thanks.
Next.
Hi. So we're using linked accounts. Yay.
For using what accounts?
Linked accounts in Exchange.
Okay.
For our trusted domain. Okay. And that currently works for Skype for Business, but we're going to be doing the migration into Office 365, Exchange Online primarily, and then to Skype Online. Would the linked accounts with claims transformations and ADFS work still?
I think so. I'm actually not as familiar with linked accounts. That's different than a disabled user object, right? When you say
it's extremely similar.
I know it's similar. I'm just not as familiar. I don't know if Martin, if you're familiar with that, but I don't have first-hand interaction with the linked account, so I can't give you a definitive answer. But from a Skype perspective, you need a user object that represents Skype where in the forest where Skype is.
It's a disabled user, but with a
then you should be fine. Right? That's the real thing that you need. Other questions? Yeah, back there.
Hello. So my company is in scenario C, where we have Exchange Online, and we have the Skype for Business on-prem. So my question is if we were to spin up the CCE and migrate a user to Skype for Business Online and have them in, can we have users in coexistence and have the user online in Teams and be able to interact with the Skype for Business on-prem?
The CCE will not work with Teams. It will work with Skype for Business Online.
Okay. So
we are planning a solution in the future to make sure that you can have a bring your own trunk scenario with Teams. That's not yet ready. But CCE as it exists today is for Skype for Business.
Okay. So
the scenario we get, and we will deliver something for Teams, we just don't have it yet.
Okay. Will it be a new version of CCE or something different?
I'm going to guess it's something different.
Okay.
There's enough things that are different, and if Nikolai's here, he can tell you. Yeah. So, yeah, there was a session this morning, and I listed my slide, but Nikolai's the expert there, and about how that's going to work.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, so my question is about Teams coexistence with Skype for Business. And the scenario is we're Skype for Business on-prem, no hybrid, no AD sync, but we want to use Teams. And I'm wondering what kind of collision we'll have with Teams in the future around if I have a Teams user that wants to federate with another user. Will there be a domain collision between those Skype on-prem domain and a team domain?
Well, is that what you're already doing right now, or that's what you want to do?
That's what we want to do.
Okay. So that would essentially mean you have completely separate accounts for Teams.
Separate accounts.
And so if that's what you want, that's okay. What most users
I'm not sure I want. I'm just wondering if that will be a problem in the future.
What I would recommend is sync your users into AAD and then just use those synced users for Teams.
No, I understand that and that would work. but if we have separate accounts, will there be a collision on Federation someday? Because SRV records around Federation are going to be the same, and there's only one chance to do an inbound Federation on a domain, and it won't be distinct between Teams and Skype for Business.
That's an interesting question. And the reality is we're still building Federation support for Teams, so I don't think I can definitively answer that for you.
Okay.
Right? That, like, if you, for those of you who tried out Teams, like, that's one thing that's not there yet is the Federation, and it's coming. What I can tell you is our recommendation would be to sync those user objects and do it that way. And as we flesh out the Federation support, I could better answer that question.
Okay, thanks.
Try to figure out how to phrase this. I heard you were saying about the one-to-one, right, with an on-premise environment, so you can have you can't have multiple Skype on-prem pointing to a single tenant. We kind of have it the other way around, where we have just the one on-premise, but we have multiple business units that have their own Office 365 tenants. And we've got it working great for Exchange Online, where we don't do any Exchange on-premise, and we actually use Exchange to drive auto tenants for the same Skype on-premise solution. We have multiple tenants driving different auto attendants. We've got all that working, but they complain because if they were to move to Skype Online, right now we have them segmented off in our own on-prem Skype. So like business side A doesn't see business side B.
Yep.
But if we move them to Skype Online and we don't move all of our users in one go, we don't do any hybrid, like we're not doing AAD sync at all. Is there any, right now we're doing it all great on the Exchange side without AAD sync, and I can't really picture a way without doing a cutover in my head where I can get any type of coexistence.
So how are you doing Exchange without AAD sync?
Well, they just don't authenticate to the on-premise environment separate. Like they authenticate to Exchange Online, but as far as like auto attendants and voicemail and all that stuff, we have just like you showed in the slide, we have the OAuth piece turned on, and the other piece. The only piece that's not really consistent is server-side conversation history, but everything else works great. Like people in organization A using the same Skype on-prem solution, if they get a call that comes into an auto tenant, it goes up to their Exchange Online. And same thing for voicemails. Like it just ships it directly to that tenant.
Like, do you have on-premise like devices, or like how do you do local authentication?
Most people are remote and they're authenticating just through like the public, like external, like I'm an external user.
It's not a notion of a traditional company where there's a bunch of stuff on.
Oh, right, it's on-prem, but so a lot of people are, but a lot of people aren't, and so everyone just kind of uses it's mostly considered external for everybody, I think, based on our setup.
So you've basically got Exchange Online without directory sync.
So it just uses EWS for all like the client level authentication, and that works great. Like the password's the same in both environments. Okay. We have some custom password stuff that we're doing to handle that.
So you want to do that with Skype?
I just want to start using Skype for Business Online, and I'm trying to, work it out internally where I can get users on Skype Online and where they're not saying, because, obviously with all the team stuff, and they have access to all of that, but right now we switch off Skype for Business Online in the tenant because everyone's using the on-prem solution. And, we want to enable it, start using like the E5 PSTN. And they're, well, if I do all that, first of all, records and domain is going to be an issue. I guess that would be the bigger problem, right? Is the domain.
Yep. So, it sounds like this is more complex. If you want, we can talk offline after this session a little bit more. But, the bottom line is if you're trying to do 3 different tenants connected to one on-prem deployment, I think you're asking for trouble. If you truly separate those on-prem Skype deployments, like they're completely separate, right, and they're federated on-prem, you'd be okay.
That makes sense.
That would be the recommendation I would give you if it's important to have those 3 tenants in the cloud.
I'm smiling as if I designed it, right? I'm just relaying the information.
Yeah.
But thank you.
I'm answering the best I can. Other questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe I have one. So I'm working for a group company that owns some other companies, and we are using the obscure resource domain concept with multiple resource domains. So I just wondered if I understood it correctly, that when we deploy the hybrid for one of the organizations, for one of the domains, the only way for us to onboard the other Skype users from the other entities would be through that first hybrid. So we would first of all need to merge all the attributes from their resource domain into this domain that the hybrid sits on, and only then we would be able to move them.
So do you have separate Skype deployments, or it's just one Skype deployment?
Yeah, we have. Unfortunately, we are different entities, so we have separate Skype deployments.
Yeah, okay.
And the entities are all federated.
Yeah, so your options are, If you don't have voice, you could do a cutover. I know customers who have done it. Like, I was like, how do they do it? And like, well, they did a cutover. They just took the pain and ripped the Band-Aid off, so to speak.
That's what I would want to do the cutover and just provision them in the cloud, online. But you mentioned that since if we have a hybrid, or if there's a hybrid deployed, all of the users who would be provisioned with the Skype for Business functionality from online would need to be moved up from the hybrid, or
that's I see. So yeah, I can clarify that next time I give the talk. If you do a cutover, you don't actually even need to sync the users, or you can stop syncing the users. You're essentially creating a new user account.
Yeah, well, but we have Exchange services for them.
Yeah, so you're getting rid of their old Skype info. You're not creating a new AD user account, but you're, from a Skype perspective, it's a new account.
Okay.
Right, you're disabling all the Skype functionality on-prem, and then you're just going to assign them a license online. And so they're not going to preserve the contacts, the meetings aren't going to go, right? And that may be user pain, but you may decide, hey, I'm okay with it, right? So it's, conceptually, it's a new Skype user account, but yes, it's the same AD account.
Okay, because I got the impression that that the hybrid would need to know about them.
No, I'll need to clarify that next time. The whole notion about they need to know, that's when you're doing a true hybrid mode. I would say a cutover is actually not a hybrid config.
Well, we're running hybrid for one of the entities because they have deployed their voice features on it, so that kind of complicates.
Well, then it gets more complicated.
So probably go through the hybrid then.
Yeah, for that one.
Okay.
That's the challenge.
Thanks.
Yep. Anything else? I thought of one question for you guys. For those that are still on-prem, like just shout out, like what are the reasons that you don't go to the cloud? Is there an obvious set of reasons? Okay, so voice, I'm going to group all that into things related to voice functionality. That's a big bucket, right? Okay. Now, if I table that, and that's a big thing to table, are there other reasons why people don't go to the cloud? Bad support. Okay. Say again? Yeah, that's the first one. Okay, but that's voice functionality, right? Voice functionality and calling plans, right? So there's a whole bunch of reasons, all related to voice. Are there reasons unrelated to voice that people don't go to the cloud? I heard 2 people say support is less than desirable. Is there anything else? One at a time, good? Oh yeah, because you have Exchange on-prem, right? Come find me. I want to see if we can get you in the TAP program. Okay. Other than like decommissioning the stuff and not having to manage it.
Again, that whole voice bucket.
Yes. Okay. I see. In that context, I wasn't, but I understand as well. Okay, so the performance of the audio and the video. Okay. Anything else? All right. Is there anything specific to Skype, or is it more just general? That's just general fear about cloud, and it could have been the foobar product, and they'd still have that fear. Job security fear. Okay. All right. Anything else? Well, cool. Thanks very much. If you have Exchange on-prem and you're looking to go to Skype Online, do find me because I need customers for the TAP program, and then we'll release that. And if you have other questions, I'm happy to take them here. Thank you very much.